He resided at one point in Antioch, Illinois. However, it's my understanding that the residence or the address that his family resided at, they no longer reside there, perhaps due to some threats or concerns over their safety. But I don't know what their current address is. I think that they are, perhaps for good reason, not sharing that address. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter is, if the defendant's released from custody and joins his family, it will be at some undisclosed location. So that is cause for concern.
Wait a minute, what did I just hear? This is November 2nd, 2020, and the man speaking is Thomas Binger. What did I just hear? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
Listen to this again.
Appear to have any ties to our community. He resided at one point in Antioch, Illinois. However, it's my understanding that the residence or the address that his family resided at, they no longer reside there, perhaps due to some threats or concerns over their safety. But I don't know what their current address is. I think that they are, perhaps for good reason, not sharing that address. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter is, if the defendant's released from custody and joins his family, it will be at some undisclosed location.
So this is at the bail hearing, and Thomas Binger, Binger, I don't even care. He's making a claim that Kyle in the future is going to be living at some undisclosed residence, and therefore they need a $2 million bond on him to secure his participation in future court proceedings. Wait, how does that work? Kyle was in the news recently because they wanted another $200,000 bail because Kyle's living at an undisclosed location. What the hell is going on here? Well, I know what's going on here. It's Thomas Binger. Notice how reasonable Thomas sounds to the judge. You know, Kyle here, yeah, I mean, he's living in an undisclosed location, and in the future he's going to be in an undisclosed location, but we fully understand why. I mean, it's perfectly understandable that he might be facing some death threats and things like that. But then when a couple of detectives go to the address and find he's not living there, what does he do? He goes to the public. Kyle is on the loose. We can't find him. We need another $200,000 bail. He's a fugitive. Well, that's how the public took it. The public went on and claimed that Kyle had skipped bail and he's in hiding somewhere. He'll never show up for the trial. He's probably being hidden by the Proud Boys. And all this time, actually, Kyle was living in a safe house in an undisclosed location, and he shows up at his preliminary. He's not in hiding. He's not a fugitive. What kind of fugitive shows up at his court proceedings? That seems to be the dumbest fugitive there ever was. Go listen to Merle Haggard sometime, and Merle Haggard sings about the fugitive all the time, and at no point does Merle ever mention anything about the fugitive, the lonesome fugitive, ever showing up for his bail proceedings. What is the true story here? What's going on? Well, the true story is that Thomas Binger is going to present a very reasonable demeanor to the judge, who's going to nod his head and go, oh, yes, it's very reasonable. Yes, the district attorney is looking out for both sides here. And then he's going to turn around and he's going to give a different view to the public because he knows the public will run with it. And so this whole conniption about Kyle living in some undisclosed location, he knows how the public is going to take it and run. And they did exactly what he thought they would do. They had all over the place, all over social media, Kyle has skipped bail and he's on the lam. I even saw one where they said, well, now the witnesses in this saga are now in danger because Kyle is going to probably shoot them. Jesus. Bunch of morons out there, I'm telling you. Now let's take a look and see what happened in this recent Vice article here. I read it last time, but I thought it would be a good idea to go over it again, because there's something interesting here. Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyers. Cops told us to lie about where he's living. Prosecutors say Kenosha shooter Kyle Rittenhouse skipped out on his bond by not updating the court with his new address, when in fact during the bail hearing he told the judge that Kyle will probably not be disclosing his address. He's going to be living at an undisclosed address, and that's why we needed a $2 million bond on him. And he got the $2 million bond. But Rittenhouse's former lawyer says police told him to purposefully mislead the court as to where Rittenhouse is living. Now that's he said, she said. We'll see what the police say. By the way, Kenosha County I recently had a video where they showed Attorney Pierce going to the police department to talk about Kyle's bail deal. There's no sound though, so I have no way of knowing what was actually said. But I'll put a link to it in the description if you want to take a look at that. It's amazing how hard people are working on Kyle's side to get the truth out, and it's a real hard deal because there's just so many dumbasses out there that you just cannot reach through. Some of them, their skulls are just too thick. Prosecutors are seeking a new arrest warrant. He's been living at an undisclosed location since November. This was November 2nd, and all of a sudden we got to go out and arrest him now. And they want a $200,000 increase in the bond, even though the $2 million bond was set with the understanding that he was going to be living in an undisclosed location. Now, I went over this in the last video I did on this deal, and I just want to go over it again because the lie is so obvious here. This is the district attorney's office. It is extremely unusual for a defendant facing a charge of first-degree intentional homicide in Kenosha County to post cash bond and be released from custody pending trial. That is a bald-faced lie, and I mentioned this last time. Crystal Kaiser, she's a young black female that was accused of planning a murder. Well, she murdered somebody, but the charge was that she actually planned that murder, and then she burned the house down to hide the evidence. And she is now free on bond, and guess where she lives? Kenosha. It's the same district attorney's office that's handling the case. They know fully well that she's out on bond. They don't mention it. Rarely does our community see accused murderers roaming about freely. Well, Crystal is an accused murderer, and she's roaming about freely. She's out on bond. Her bond was only $400,000. And guess what? A whole bunch of community members joined together and paid for her bond, and nobody seemed to mind that. Kyle gets some people together to post his bond, and this is the problem with our bail system. I can't believe that an accused murderer would have people going in and putting the money together to spring him. But when Crystal Kaiser was bonded out, nobody seemed to care about that. For the record, as I said this last time, I am glad that Crystal has bail. I'm glad that she's out free. Therefore, she has a better chance of being able to put together a defense for her case. And it looks like she might have a legitimate self-defense claim there. It's kind of hard to say. I'd like to go into that one a little bit more at some future time. Robert Barnes mentioned this in one of his Viva Fry duets. And that's what got me thinking about what was going on with that case. And it's really clear the similarities are so easy to look at. You have Kyle and Krister, both 17 years old, both accused of first-degree intentional homicide. Kyle's self-defense claim is far stronger than hers, but she still might have one. But she, according to the police, planned the murder and then burned the house down to cover the evidence. Kyle didn't do that. And he's out on a $2 million bond, and she's paying $400,000. Same town. Rittenhouse's current attorney, Mark Richards, filed his own motion Wednesday objecting to the increase, saying Rittenhouse's new address at a safe house wasn't disclosed out of concerns for his safety. Yeah, there are a large percent of the population really hates Kyle Rittenhouse, and there's another percentage of the population that would absolutely kill him, especially since they've now supposedly linked him to the Proud Boys, which is totally bogus, but okay, they believe it. So is his life in jeopardy? Yeah, he has a legitimate reason to fear for his life right now. Keep in mind, he can't have a gun, so he can't defend himself. And the people know that. The court, to refuse to seal his address, is essentially sticking him up there for a lynch mob. And Thomas Binger, in the November 2nd bail hearing, even conceded that. He even said, yes, there are some legitimate threats out there. Binger refused, citing Wisconsin's proud history of open records laws. Oh, you got to be kidding me. That's the reason? Tradition? We have a tradition here in Wisconsin. It's long and proud, where we offer up the accused and their addresses for anyone that wants to go out and kill them. But cracked open the door to changing his mind if there were a specific, tangible, and imminent threat that would justify secrecy. Look, if the threat is imminent, then hiding the address is too late. They're pretending here like a person is going to go down, find out where Kyle is living, and then immediately go down and kill Kyle. But if the address is disclosed, it's going to be available for anyone to come along later and act on it. Putting a standard of imminent threat is ridiculous here. Is it really outside the realm of possibility that someone may want to hurt Kyle Rittenhouse? Especially with all the lies that are being told about him, including those by Thomas Binger. And it goes on to say about why the address doesn't match. It's because Rittenhouse's attorney put a different address on there after consulting with the police chief. That just sounds weird. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't sound right. Now, keep in mind that Kyle Rittenhouse recently fired his attorney, and I have a feeling that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to come in later and say, hey, I can't be held responsible for that issue because that was filled out by my lawyer. My lawyer put down the address, I didn't, and I fired him when I found out. And that's a pretty good argument. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, it shouldn't matter, it shouldn't matter. Actually, it does, because the attorney is the representative of the defendant. And therefore, the defendant is going to rely on that attorney's legal advice. So how culpable is a defendant for believing in an attorney's strategy? The attorney has the legal knowledge behind him and has also been certified by the state as being able to represent defendants. And therefore, it is actually a pretty good claim, in my opinion, to be able to say, hey, I wasn't the one that filled out the forms. My attorney did. He's my representative. So we'll see how that plays out. But it just really irks me that Thomas Binger is presenting these two faces, one to the judge where he's Mr. Reasonable, and then the one to the public where he's feeding the public on a constant basis these little innuendos and falsehoods and letting the public run with them. Let me show you what Kyle is up against. You may be thinking, oh, come on. The threat can't be that serious. Listen to John Huber and his take on things.
Or else they wouldn't have asked for these people to come around. You know, he was 2 businesses away when he chased that guy down and shot him in the head. That's far. He chased him down to kill him.
So, according to John Huber, Kyle Rittenhouse chased Joseph Rosenbaum down. He was 2 stores away, and he chased Rosenbaum down and shot him. That's his interpretation of what took place. So you see the misinformation and the lies permeate this entire ordeal. I'm going to have a special show devoted just to John Huber, because I used to feel sorry for this guy, but not anymore. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.